Hello, my name is Daniel Diaz and I'll be presenting the feature completion of FFQR-5, the first story for the FFQR system, which is a questionnaire web app mockup and the overall system overview. The user story is basically to present a visual representation of what the flow will look like for the first portion of this application, which will be a questionnaire where participants select the foods and the amount of such foods that their infants consume on a weekly basis in a user-friendly way, as well as map out the overall interactions of the various system components to create a system in which issuers of such questionnaire can go to a web portal and request access to the questionnaire. The administrator would then approve this access, and then this issuer can create questionnaires or sets of questionnaires in which participants can then go to the questionnaire web application, take it, and then the issuer will get back these results. For this story, we wanted to go ahead and create an overall mock-up of what the questionnaire web application will look like, how that will be presented to the participant, as well as a generic use case diagram and a high-level system architecture that we'll use to incorporate the full system. For the acceptance criteria for this story, we're expecting a mock-up of the landing page, where the first page that a participant of the questionnaire will see when they first hit the URL, as well as the actual questionnaire page, a mock-up of what that will look like, how the questions will be presented to the participant, a general use case diagram of the entire system, who are the actors, what do they use the system for, how do they interact with it, and then a high-level system architecture of the various components that will be needed to be implemented in order to see this product to fruition. So for the use case diagram, for the entire FFQ system, we have three actors. The participant, which basically is a parent of an infant who is going to take the questionnaire and input based on a certain variety of food items that are presented to them. How frequent do their children consume such foods and in which quantities? The issuer is primarily pediatricians or researchers of infant diet standards, which will be issuing these questionnaires to participants, whose results of such questionnaires will be routed to the issuer, not the participant themselves, to be further analyzed and then presented in a professional manner to the participant. If you're a pediatrician and if the issuer is a researcher, then they can get aggregate results based on 30, 50, 100 of such questionnaires issued. The administrator is the third actor, in which case this administrator will control what food items are in the database, modifying, deleting, inserting in a very user-friendly way, as well as authorizing what issuers can use the questionnaire. So an issuer would initially come and request access to a questionnaire, and pending that access, we'll wait until the administrator either authorizes or rejects that. The issuer can then issue a single questionnaire or a set of questionnaires, or get the aggregate results of that set of questionnaires or the single result. For the overall system architecture, we divided the system into two microservices. One of them which will keep track of the food items that are presented to the questionnaire participant. So these are all the food items, nutritional values of such food items, the different types that each food item can have. And this microservice will also handle the calculation of the nutrient breakdown based on the participants' responses. This interaction between this backend service and the questionnaire application is one of three user-facing separate applications. This questionnaire application and related microservice will be the first epic. So this components will be completed with the first epic of this project, and basically the front end will pull from the list of food items and render them accordingly to the participant, as well as validate questionnaires. So in order to come in, and we'll see that shortly with the web mockup, but basically this will contain a list of authorized questionnaires. If the participant enters the appropriate questionnaire key, that'll map their questionnaire to the issuer of that questionnaire. They'll take it. The results will be aggregated and calculated back here in the questionnaire database, and then that will be passed over to the issuer database, where they'll be able to obtain their results. The issuer will have a web portal where they'll be able to request access, view pending requests, register as a new user once that request is granted, and basically view all their questionnaires, request new ones, request sets. Basically, this is going to be the interaction where the user, in this case the issuer, creates questionnaires or questionnaire sets, and then those keys are validated and stored in the questionnaire database. So when a participant hits the questionnaire front end, either through a link provided by the issuer or by putting in the code directly into the page, they'll be able to take the questionnaire, and the results will be then filtered back to the issuer's web portal, where they'll be able to see results. And the third front end facing application will be a web administration portal for the administrator of the entire system, where they'll be able to manage the food item database, as well as authorize or decline issuers, and see general activity and statistics calculated by these two services. As a breakdown for more detailed views, we've notated the basic interactions between each individual component. So the blue A for further information. Each of these have basically high-level overview of what we feel the interactions will be between these components. For the front facing mockup for the questionnaire portion, a user will visit the FFQR URL. This is the participant who's ready to take a questionnaire. They'll be given a basic prompt to enter their questionnaire ID. We've added some additional buttons, so to add some about information about the site, the questionnaire and its creator, as well as contact information if there's any questions, or maybe they want to become an issuer. And this will be populated based on product owner feedback. If the questionnaire ID entered is invalid, it'll pop up a dialog box explaining that it is invalid. And if it is valid, then we will go ahead and proceed to the questionnaire page. The questionnaire page will basically have some instructions at the beginning, of text fields for the user to enter their full name if required. So we will include something in the future epic where this could be set to anonymous if it's researchers who want to maybe tabulate 30 of these and doesn't really require names. Drop-down menu will allow the participant to select the age range of their child, depending on the age ranges that we support in the database. And then a dynamic generation of individual question blocks from 1 to as many questions as there are in the food database. And each question block will dynamically render based on the item pulled. So there will be a story dedicated to creating this data agnostic component. So it'll be one user interface component to render any item and dynamically add the components required to properly capture the results. Here we have the name of the food item, a text input which will have a restricted amount, so only accept integers, positive integers, and will set a reasonable maximum value, such as, no one's going to be taking 1 million servings of breast milk per day or week. So we'll discuss that with the product owner, but this will be restricted so that the input is validated. A drop-down menu so they could only select whether this is times per day or per week. And each question block will have an X-out component where they can remove it if their infant does not consume this food item. If a user X's this out, the question block will not be removed completely in case it's a mistake, but it will be minimized and grayed out with an option to re-enable it. The reason for this is because we want to have some validation on the questions blocks that remain. So if a user were to press submit with a question block such as cow's milk left active, but no input either in text field, times per day or week, or serving size, then upon hitting submit, we will highlight in red any components that are missing an answer. For food items that have serving sizes, these will be dynamically generated depending on the data pulled, and a drop-down menu will allow them to only select one, but they must select one. The same goes for food types, such as rice and pasta. There's either regular or whole grain, each of them with different nutrient sets. This will capture that as well. We will add a little information icon for serving size helps in the sense that some questionnaire items reference photos for the participant to be able to better judge what is 1 ounce, 2.5 ounces, 4 ounces of rice or pasta. So any food items that do have these pictures of serving size help will create a pop-up window through this icon. And upon hitting submit, if it's not, the form is not valid, we'll go ahead and highlight all the areas that are invalid and prompt the user to properly fill that out. And upon hitting submit, will display a thank you message to the participant and that the information has been sent to the issuer. And that is the end of this story. We'll send this over to the product owner for feedback.